Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're out in the bitter cold to show you a newly released handgun from Sig. If you follow the channel, you'll know that we've previously done a video on the M17 US Army handgun. And this is a P320 that was modified for the program to replace the M9 service pistol, and it was ultimately adopted over other handguns that were submitted to those trials. Well, the M18 is an evolutionary change from this handgun that's being adopted by other branches of the military, like the Navy, the Marine Corps, I believe the Air Force, and even the Coast Guard are all looking at or have adopted the M18 variant of the M17 service pistol. So that's what we're going to talk to you about today. Probably won't be a very long video because they're so similar, and we've already covered the M17, but we'll go over the few differences that exist and talk about how the handgun handles. First, we're going to fire off some 115 grain ball ammunition, and this is from our friends over at Federal, and it's just some standard range ammunition. They do supply the ammunition to the channel for free, and we like to thank them for doing that. If you'd like to pick up some of your own ammunition, please swing by and check out twowaywarehouse.com. All right, we have a challenge target that's just about 10 yards away. The M17 has a manual safety on it, so you'll want to remember to, like a 1911, ride that with your thumb so you can make sure it's off when you fire the handgun. And let's fire off 17 rounds out of the M17. All right, shoots pretty good. A little bit weird with thick gloves. These are mechanics gloves. These are brand new, actually. I just found them online. They're insulated, so they are cold weather gloves. I'll put a link down in the first comment in the video if you want to pick up a pair of these, and so you guys can do that. So the gun doesn't feel nearly as ergonomic with these big thick gloves on, which really aren't all that thick, but you will notice the M17 has plenty of room for a gloved hand in that trigger guard. All right, let's take a look at the M18. This is the new M18 handgun, and you'll notice it has a rubber band around it. It says P320 M18 US Army. So if the Marine Corps, the Navy, the Air Force, Coast Guard are all adopting the M18, why does it say US Army on it? Well, because the Army is also adopting the handgun for its general officers, or GOs. Now, more than likely, because of the modularity of the handgun, you'll find different units using the M17 in different configurations because the grip frames are adjustable in length and color and things like that, although they're probably going to stick with the flat dark earth, but they could very well go to black as well. But the slide and the barrel is also compatible with the M17 because, as you can see, the grip frame is the same length. The only difference is that the slide and barrel are slightly longer on the M17 pistol. Now, the version that they're selling to the civilian market, which obviously is what I have here, has the full-size grip frame on it. I've just taken the 17-round magazine out of the M17 pistol, and you'll notice it fits just fine into the civilian model of the M18. So in essence, what we have here is a handgun that is very similar to the Glock 19X. You have the short barrel and slide on a full-sized grip frame. Everything else about the handgun is identical to the M17. The barrel length and slide being the only real difference. You have the ambi slide lock, slide release, and manual safety, takedown lever on the left-hand side, reversible magazine release, and of course the ability to accept 17-round or even 21-round magazines, which we'll shoot here this afternoon. So the handgun can be loaded by putting a full magazine into it, much like my M17 when it was brand new on a full magazine. It was a little bit gritty pulling the slide to the rear, but once you start shooting the handgun, it typically breaks in a little bit and it becomes less difficult, at least with my M17. You have the night sights that are on here as well, and the ability also obviously has the large trigger guard, so a gloved hand will fit nicely into the trigger guard, the gloved finger, I should say. All right, so safety's off. Let's do a little bit of shooting here on the challenge target. All right, and drop the magazine falls free. See if I can find one of the 21-round magazines. Let's go ahead and put another 17-rounder through it. You can easily drop the slide on a full magazine and it'll chamber. Slide release works just fine. One thing I like about the P320, which the M17 and the M18 so far are actually growing on me. The M17 is a pistol that I've really come to appreciate and like to shoot. But one thing that's really nice about them is the slide stop stays out of the way with most shooters that use it. You'll find with some handguns, like my buddy is struggling with his new Glock 45, he's struggling with hitting that slide stop and holding it down so the slide doesn't lock open on the last shot fired. That's not an issue that I've found with the P320s, because that slide stop is far enough away from the shooter's thumb that it doesn't typically ride on it. But that's just for me. Some folks out there might actually have a problem with it still. The only thing I have left in my pocket is some more of the 115 grain Federal stuff, but this time in a 21 round magazine. It's the exact same magazine you'll find in the M17. Dang it. The sights are actually shooting really high for me. Let me shoot at the flapper here. Tried to shoot the head, the sights are shooting just a little bit high for me. It may just be my grip because of this rubber band that's on here and the fact I have a glove on. Try pulling this off. The gun is safe. Get that little rubber band off there. All right, there we go. Should feel a little bit normal now. A little bit more normal, I should say. All right, see if the sights work any better for me now. Yeah, that's working better for me. When you get your M18, it's going to come in a box just like this, which is very similar to other SIG products already on the market. When you open it up on the inside, you'll find the pistol, 3 magazines, one 17 rounder and 2 21 round magazines. You'll find an offer to buy a collector's case for your handgun, the SIG owner's manual, some SIG stickers and things like that. And also there is the required pistol lock if you want that as well. I just tucked it underneath the foam. All right, so let's take a look at the field stripping process of the P320 pistol, or in this case the M18, one and the same. Go ahead and lock that down so it doesn't open up on me. All right, so the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure that the weapon's empty. Take the magazine out, lock the slide to the rear, make sure that the chamber is empty. Next, you're going to rotate the disassembly lever down. That won't be possible if you still have the magazine in the gun. It's one of the internal safeties. Once you have the lever down, hit the slide release, and the slide and frame come apart. Don't have to pull the trigger. Take this out, simply rotate it up, pull it out, and you can take the chassis out of the frame and drop it into another frame. Here you're going to notice a recoil spring that's a nested recoil spring. You'll see on the back here, it's flat on either side and round-ish on 2 tops. That's going to become important when you put the handgun back together. I'm going to go ahead, take the recoil spring out, and take the barrel out of the slide. Okay, very simple to do. To reverse the process, you put the barrel in, take your recoil spring, and what you want to do is make sure that those flats are oriented how you see them there. Push that down. If you don't, and you put it together with the flats down against the barrel, when you go to put the handgun back together, the guide rod will protrude from the front of the slide. Line up the slide rails, pull it to the rear, lock it back together. Now, this handgun does have a loaded chamber indicator right here. It's held in place by the rear sight plate. You take this off, you can actually take that out of the gun if you don't want it in there for some reason. Now, another thing you'll notice is I have the gun back together, but if I take a loaded magazine and put it in the gun, no matter how hard I try to slam it in there, it's not going back in the gun. Don't worry if you find this happening. Lock your slide to the rear and drop it. Now the magazine will fit into the grip frame. All right, that's it. That's all there is to field stripping the P320. If you want to put a red dot sight on it, you can do so by taking the slide off the frame. You have 2 Torx head, I believe, screws inside there. You'll take those out, the plate will come off, and then you put whatever red dot sight you want onto the handgun. Just like the 19X, this configuration has grown on me. Having the longer slide and barrel, I mean, has its advantages. Obviously, you take away weight when you shorten the barrel and shorten the slide, but that doesn't really seem to be a factor with the Glock 19X or with the M18 service pistol. I actually prefer this configuration more than the full-size handgun now. At first, I didn't like it when Glock came out with it. I thought that it was a bit awkward. It didn't seem to make sense, but once you shoot it, it really does make sense. And the 19X has become one of my favorite handguns. All right, I'm gonna load it up with a 21 round magazine. And the trigger is just like any other P320. Plenty of videos out there talking about it. Has a very defined reset. You know exactly when the trigger resets. And yeah, the gun shoots really, really nicely. So, weapon's clear. Here's where your trigger comes back, hits a shelf very quickly. Pull past the shelf. It fires, it's very mushy and springy feeling and sounding, but it stops right there. Reset right there, and that's full release. So it has a fairly short travel. You also notice that this has the improved trigger in it, which is a reduced mass trigger. The mass of the trigger is less than the original P320. The original P320s could fire if dropped a particular way. Plenty of videos out there talking about it. Sig didn't do a mandatory recall. It was a voluntary recall, and you'll still find lots of P320s out there that have triggers in them that would enable the gun being fired should it be dropped a certain way. But you don't have to worry about that with the M18 or the M17 because they have the updated triggers in them, and they were never sold with the older trigger. That was discovered while the gun was actually in testing. The fire controls are very good, logically located, easy to find, at least for me. The gun's a real pleasure to shoot. Like I said, I think I like this configuration more. The 21 round magazines are nice, but not really required. 17 rounds is plenty. A little bit awkward for carry, but if you're doing open carry in a thigh holster, like in a military situation, I could definitely see it being of use. Having those extra rounds is nice. You don't have to use the P320 mags with the flat dark earth butt plates. You can use standard P320 magazines if you already have some of those, or if you want to buy some more. But the flat dark earth magazines, at least last time I checked, were readily available for the M17 and the M18. I like it. I like the two-tone finish. You know, FN made that popular with the SCAR, the multicolored finish. I think this looks really sharp. I think the black controls, which is ultimately, I believe, what the military adopted, not the flat dark earth controls of the special edition M17 that first came out. This is pretty much what you would get as a service pistol. So if you are somebody out there that likes to collect service firearms that are issued to militaries around the world, this would definitely be a must to add to your collection, as well as the original M17. During a lot acceptance test of the M18 handgun, Sig performed a 12,000 round test, and they had 0 stoppages in 12,000 rounds. That's pretty impressive. I don't care who you are or what handgun you're using. I don't think I could fire 12,000 rounds of any type of ammunition and not have a problem with it. A handgun that can fire 12,000 rounds with zero malfunctions is pretty impressive. The P320 was a popular handgun long before the military adopted it as its service pistol. Now that it's the service pistol, it's going to be even more popular. People want military issued firearms. So if you're a small arms collector, you're definitely going to want the M18, especially if you already have the M17. They kind of go together. Guys, if you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms Channel, we are viewer supported. We don't take money from Sig or any of the other gun manufacturers. We're supported by you, our viewing audience, so we can be as objective and unbiased as humanly possible. There's a link down below to check out our Patreon page. Please consider swinging by and checking it out. Also, if you don't like Patreon for some reason, we have Subscribe Star as well. Again, there's a link down below. Last but not least, swing by and check out coppercustom.com. All right, guys, let's go ahead. Got an empty magazine in it. Let's load it up and fire the last 21 rounds of Federal of the afternoon and go warm ourselves up. Thanks for 11 years of support, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Definitely a good shooting pistol. Thanks for watching, guys.